friends, I'm Linda and this is Kelly. Welcome to our Grow Kids Deep Dive for April. If you are new to these deep dives, what we do here is to try to give you a head start in preparing for the upcoming series, especially if you're a Grow user and you're following our recommended scope and sequence. But even if you don't use Grow, we are so happy you're here. Please stay and check out all the wacky shenanigans Kelly and I are about to get into, and I hope you have some fun ideas that you can take away from this and use them in your ministries.
Yes, and right now, besides looking very fashionable, what we're going to do is we are going to give you a big picture and an in-depth look at the ninth series in Grow Kids Volume 7, which is called Throwback. And Throwback is a 4-week series from the Gospels about Jesus's early life and ministry. So first, we're going to give you a very big picture overview of the Bible stories and the big idea for the month. Then we are going to look at the theme for the series to give you some decorating ideas. And finally, we are going to go over some of the special features that this particular series has to offer you. And then you will have absolutely everything you need to get started.
In week 1 of Throwback, we're looking at Matthew chapter 7, where Jesus teaches about the speck and the plank and how it's not a good look to judge others. And we want to help kids understand the connection of how we often judge others because we think we might be doing better than they are. So this week's big idea is it's always good to be humble.
In week 2, we look at Matthew 18, where Jesus teaches about the parable of the unforgiving servant. This parable helps kids think about the very real struggle that we all have with forgiving others and the tendency to hold grudges instead. Especially in light of the forgiveness that we receive from God, this week's big idea gently reminds us we can always forgive.
And that brings us to week 3, and we're in Matthew chapter 20 with the story of the workers in the vineyard. This parable will help kids see that God doesn't operate on a basis of meritocracy, but is always loving and generous to all. That's why this week's big idea is, even though it might not look it on the surface, Jesus is always fair.
Finally, in week 4, we are in Luke 16 with the story of the rich man and Lazarus. It's a bit of a tragic story of how the rich man realizes much too late that he could have shown more of God's love to people like Lazarus and even his own family while he was still alive. This story reminds us that empty words and promises are not enough. Love always needs action.
And this month's memory verse comes from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8, and reinforces how Jesus is always in vogue. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. All right, now it's time for arguably Kelly and my favorite part of this deep dive, and it's to talk about the theme. This month's decorating theme is retro trends because we're talking about how Jesus' teachings are timeless and always trending. And I feel like the leaders are gonna love this more than the kids will, so dig through all of your old memorabilia, you know, the one everyone else calls junk, and display them proudly for this series. Kelly, tell us a little bit more about what we can do for Throwback.
Yes, Linda, since none of our kids that we're going to be teaching were alive during these amazing decades that we are going to throw back to, we have to show them what they missed, right?
We sure do.
So let's set the stage for them. First of all, like Linda said, this is not in the environment guide. This is a freebie. Go through your closets, go through your attic, go to your mom's house, go to your grandma's house, whoever's house, go to Goodwill or any thrift store, find the clothes, okay? That's just a freebie. Now, back to the environment guide. If you want to go back to the 80s, check out this easy to put up backdrop from Amazon, okay? Super easy up, easy down. Especially those of you that are in portable environments, those of you that share space. This is a super easy way for you to throw back to a lovely decade. Now, there is not much more that I love than a good snack, particularly one that goes perfectly with a theme, right? So check out these totally throwback snack options in the environment guide. First up, Dunkaroos. Now, Linda, I need to know, are you a chocolate Dunkaroo fan or are you an OG rainbow sprinkle?
Okay, so this is a bit challenging for me because I didn't grow up with Dunkaroos because I wasn't allowed to have fun stuff. But if I had to choose now, I think it would be chocolate.
Yes, I am a chocolate Dunkaroo fan as well. However, the OG rainbow sprinkles will do in a pinch. You can get either on Amazon. We have the links in the environment guide for you this month. Also, snack packs. Now, these take me back for sure to my lunchbox, okay? You cannot go wrong with chocolate or vanilla. This is not like a Dunkaroo debate, but your kids will love them regardless. Now, not that you should eat these, but another throwback that I personally want to highlight are the lip smackers, right? Definitely a throwback. Now, the ones we have linked to are like snack foodie, so don't eat them, but definitely buy them, wear them, hand them out to your kids. It's perfect.
These are such lovely ways to throw back. And like we said before, I feel like all of you leaders are just going to have so much fun with this. So go all out. Believe it or not, what Kelly and I are wearing are things we actually own. We did not go out and purchase these items. So we believe in you. You can do it. And make sure you check out our environment guide for more ideas. There's tons of ideas in there, not just about decorating, but even like font choices and color schemes and a music playlist, like a Spotify playlist and Pinterest boards. There's just so much just fun awesomeness in there. So make sure you check it out and also tag us in all of your photos and things like that because we have to see this, especially if you get kids involved in a decade that they have no idea what went on in. Like we want to see them. And if you want to debate chocolate or rainbow sprinkles, go ahead and drop those Dunkaroo comments. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, friends, so we gave you an overview of the series as well as a look into how to theme up your ministry space and throw it all the way back. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the exciting features of this series. Now, if you have been using Grow for a while, then you already know that there are some things that stay the same, and that is our teaching and how it's always broken up into three major sections. We have the what section, the so what section, and the now what section. So in the what section, it's our opening time where we welcome kids into the space and we play some icebreakers and we tease at what the big idea is going to be and what the Bible story is going to be. And then we go into the so what section where we actually tell them what the Bible story and the big ideas are. And we also get to reinforce what they learned with some fun activities, object lessons, a secondary scripture for those of you who want to dive even deeper into the Bible. And of course, that's also where our teaching videos live. And then we move on to the now what section, which is where we get kids to kind of think even deeper about the things that they learned. They can reflect on some prompts, respond, and come up with some action steps on how they can practically apply the things that they learned to their lives. And so that is how things do stay the same from series to series.
So that basic structure stays the same every time, but each series uses a combination of building blocks like activities, videos, reflections, response, and more in each major section to help you teach the material in fun and new ways. Each series does something different with the building blocks, which keeps things engaging. Which feature of throwback do you want to talk about first, Linda?
I want to start by talking about the big idea reveal. These are always super fun, but in this series, we're going to do something called the throwback dial. So we will provide this printable for you. We have already provided this printable for you. If you can go print it out and you can put all the pieces together to create a throwback dial. There's even a little arrow you can attach to the center, and you're going to separate out each quadrant of the throwback dial with the different decades, because if you haven't looked through our series just yet, we're going to tackle a different decade every week. So week 1, we're starting with the early aughts to 2000s. Week 2, we're doing the 90s. We're doing week 3, 80s, and week 4, the 70s. So each week for the big idea reveal, you just invite a kid to come up and you say, hey, could you turn the dial to the 2000s? And then you can kind of rip off the top part and it'll have the big idea underneath. And you can keep that going each week until all the big ideas are revealed. It'll be visually pleasing and also a great way for kids to remember the big idea each week. What about you, Kelly?
Linda, throwback might be a theme that you think could be a difficult concept, especially for our preschoolers. So, what I want to hit right now are the welcome time activities for our preschoolers. Now, each week there is a fun childhood game that your kids are going to play that directly relates to the Bible story for that week. Week 1, the Bible story comes from Matthew 7, verses 1 through 5, which is the speck and the plank. So for this week, your welcome time activity is going to be playing I Spy, right? Week 2, the story of the unforgiving servant found in Matthew 18, verses 23 through 35. Your kids are going to play their own version of Sorry. How cute is that? Week 3, the Bible story is the workers in the vineyard, which is found in Matthew 20, verses 1 through 16. And the kids are going to play this fun game called Pogo Ball Hop. And finally, in week 4, the story of the rich man and Lazarus found in Luke 16, verses 19 through 31. They are going to play a game called Fancy Party. Now, shout out to anyone who played the game Pretty Pretty Princess in the 90s. Anyone? But Linda, I love the way that our contributors have taken these fun childhood games and made them very, very intentionally made them specific to the Bible story so that even our friends who were definitely not alive during these throwback decades can appreciate the fun of this series.
Yeah, and they can really reflect on what their parents and grandparents went through. A fun little tidbit that I want to say before I talk about my last point is that you'll see in the elementary series that during the Bible story time, we have these super cute and short skits that are little tributes to each decade. And I know some of you are terrified of skits, so you don't have to do this. You can just teach the parable as is shown in the Bible. But if you do choose to do it, first of all, I want to see it. And secondly, it's really fun. Like in the 2000s, we're doing like a game show. And in the 90s, we're doing like a sitcom with all the canned applause and laughter. 80s, we're doing Jeopardy. And 70s, we have like a Muppet type situation. So that'll be really fun. I mean, just the way that our writing team has gone above and beyond in bringing all of these themes to life. I think you're going to really enjoy this, guys. It might be one of our favorites. Um, but there's one thing that I want to point out about this series in particular that I absolutely love, and that is our reflection section. So this is usually the first building block in our Now What section. And it's, for me, reflection is a time where kids can kind of wind down because they've been doing a lot of activities. They've heard a lot of information. So it's time to pause and slow down and really think about what they heard and allow it to sink in. And we give them time to kind of reflect, as the name suggests, and think about certain questions. And so in this series, Throwback, the reflection module is always called Always Trending. And if you notice, all of our big ideas have the word always in it, right? We can always forgive. Jesus is always fair. And that's because Jesus is timeless. Amen. And what we're going to do in each of the reflection sections is we're going to point out something that is representative of that decade that is also timeless. So we're talking about candles in the 2000s. Like there were stores dedicated to candles, if you remember. We don't really see those anymore except in like your kids' fundraisers. But candles are timeless. We are always going to need candles in some way, shape, or form. We're talking about denim and how that was popular in a certain decade, but it's always trending. The board game Scrabble, believe it or not, is considered timeless. And as our pet videos, we've always loved videos and we've always loved our pets. So we're going to help kids see that while certain things are trending and only last for a certain decade, some things do stand the test of time, like the teachings of Jesus. So I hope you have a really good time with that. Kelly, tell us one more thing that our users absolutely must know as they teach Throwback.
Yes. Now, Linda and I already mentioned this, but I feel like it is really important to say again. This is such a great series to get your volunteers and specifically your parents involved in. There are not very many series out there where you can ask your parents to send things in. So almost like a show and tell. Let your kids go home, ask mom and dad if they can borrow something from a specific decade and bring it in. Ask your parents to share any classic toys or anything like board games, favorite snacks, anything like that from the decades that they grew up in. This can help with stage decor. It can help with your budget because borrow, right? We love to recycle. We love to use things over and over again. Like Linda said, timeless things. Some people still have their denim jackets. Some people have the original Scrabble. I love a good pet video. Whatever it is, definitely get your parents and volunteers involved in this series because we know that they will have a lot of fun. It's a great way to connect with them and get them excited about what is going on in your kids' ministry.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't have actual things because you're one of those people who's really good about throwing things out, photos can also help. So if you have pictures of yourself in a certain decade, volunteer that and have some fun laughs with not just your kids, but, all the kids in the ministry. But everybody, this has been such a blast hanging out with you and talking about this series. I hope you are as excited about it as we obviously are. Make sure you tag us in your Instagram posts, your Threads post, Facebook stuff. We want to see it all because we truly appreciate what you do for the kids in your ministries, and we want to hear about it and see all the genius that you are bringing to your ministry spaces. So thank you all so much for everything you do. Hope you have a wonderful throwback. Bye.